Oh, hello. Is this the internet? Well, what up, internet? What's going on? It is Friday, and we have returned from Kentucky, which is, it's great to be back. It's great to be back home. It was a great trip. I enjoyed it very much, and I think, hold on a second, I got my, sorry, I had my speakers was on. Sorry about that. I have returned from Kentucky, which was a good trip. I enjoyed it very much. We had a lot of fun. We did a lot of stuff. Those of you that follow on Instagram, I put up a couple of pictures of stuff that we did. We went to Mammoth Caves. We went to the Shaker Village that is out there. I don't know if you guys know anything about the Shakers. They were kind of a strange group of what do you call them? What would you call them exactly? I guess they were like hyper-religious group that was like building stuff. And I don't really carry too much of their religious information, but the big thing that I was there for was a lot of the architecture and stuff that they built back then, which was wildly interesting how they managed to engineer a lot of the building and the building practices that they employed, which were a lot of these large beams and structures like that. I am aware that the live stream is super blue in here. I don't have any way to light anything other than this blue color we got going on. I either have super bright sunlight coming in the window or this blue color from the curtains that are in here. So I don't think that's going to be getting any different. Hopefully my audio is good enough to convey the sounds that are coming out of my mouth, but that's what's going on. We got back from Kentucky. Some of the stuff that happened while we were gone was very unfortunate. Where the long string of bad luck has continued. Our house sitter had her car stolen while house sitting at our house. So we have started a GoFundMe for it, and I will post a link for that later. In the next video that we got coming up probably tomorrow. So those of you guys that want to chip in and help replace the stolen car, that would be huge. It would be a huge big deal for stuff that happened while we were out of town. We had of course had our house sitter here, and our car was stolen, which was weird. Mammoth Caves was another place that we went, which is I guess it's like federal funded. I think it's a national park, the Mammoth Caves there, which is pretty cool. And I have to say, we went on this long tour. Went down I think it goes about 300 feet deep. It goes, obviously the cave system goes a lot deeper than that. I think they said there's about 400 miles of caves that they have tracked so far, which was really interesting. It was really interesting to be able to just go down in the cave, and they have lights down there and stuff. So it was actually a really nice tour. A bit of I guess some people would say it was a hike. It wasn't really that much of a hike. I think it was about a mile long that we went up and down stairs and through the cave and stuff. But really, really interesting tour to be able to go on that. It was quite affordable too. I think it was like $15 for them to take you down and go check out that stuff. And that was really cool. Of course, a ton of good food out in Kentucky. I will say that we did not have a bad meal the whole time we were there, which was there's a bit of a foodie thing going on out in Kentucky these days, which is in my opinion is fantastic. It's good to see a lot of the small eateries and stuff like that, small restaurants, and what do you call them, like bistros and stuff like that. And also, I have to say, I'm not sure what it's like year-round there, but in the springtime, everything was quite green and lovely. It did get warm out a little bit and start giving us an idea of what it's like there in the summertime. I believe one of the days it was like 89 and a bit muggy, and my sister was like, "Well, it's a lot hotter than this in the summertime," which is being a guy that grew up on the West Coast here. I'm obviously in Tacoma now, but I grew up just north of Seattle, and it's a little bit rough. A little bit rough for my blood. I think my blood's a little too thick for 100 and whatever degrees and super muggy. I think I would probably keel over at some point in time. But we had a great trip. We had a bunch of issues with our flights. I don't really think that there's anything to blame other than the infrastructure of the United States these days with so many people traveling by plane. I think that's realistically the big problem. I have seen some stuff in the news with high-speed trains and stuff like that coming in, which I think ultimately would take the burden off of that. What I notice whenever we go doing plane travel, we generally, I think that our airports are kind of overburdened with a lot of those small flights that are hopping around and doing stuff, but maybe I'm completely wrong. I don't know. It's something I should probably look into before I really comment on it too much, but it seems to be the thing that there's just too many flights for them to like kind of figure out exactly where everybody's going and whatnot, or maybe it's just the corporate entities not managing their own business very well. I don't know. Could be any of those things. But overall, I would give the trip a 9 out of 10. It was a lot of fun. We got to see quite a bit of stuff. Very interesting part of the United States there, that kind of Kentucky, Indiana border area, going all around that kind of stuff. And then I would say the thing that I really kind of took from it was a lot. I mean, realistically, the architecture and the buildings and stuff that are out there were really interesting. It was really great to see a lot of like 150-year-old buildings and stuff in that range that people are still using today. I mean, people are still living in. Why did we lose the camera? Well, I guess we'll continue to argue with the computer here as to why the camera is not available, and now it's back. Weird. Well, either way, like I was saying, it was really interesting to be check out a lot of the architecture and stuff in those buildings that people are still living in to this day and still utilizing. We did find a few things. We did buy a few things, not a whole bunch of stuff. We didn't really buy much, but at some point in time, there will be a stool arriving here that is made out of old whiskey barrels, which was really kind of interesting. Those of you that know and have been following the channel for a long time know that I don't drink anymore. I used to be a bit of a drunk and a wild alcoholic and drug addict and all that stuff, and tomorrow will be 3 years sober for me. So those of you that have been following for a really long time and remember some of my really old videos, I've never taken them down. So you could actually go through some of the old stuff and find how fat I was and how much kind of a schlub I was at the time and look through that stuff. But I will say that going through those old distilleries and stuff was really interesting, even though I don't drink or have any, I don't partake in any of that stuff. I just realistically think that the age of those people that were doing, the age of those buildings and all the stuff, and that people are still there working today, and I'm not sure how to comment here. There we go. I can comment still. We're going to have a short live stream today. I'm just kind of ramping up and getting more into the habit of doing live streams more often. And it took me quite a bit of time this morning to get everything set up with the encoder and all that shit. And as you guys can see, the camera seems to be interacting with some other program on my computer for whatever stupid reason. And but luckily, this camera will only be used for a short amount of time, and I will be putting it out into the fish room, and I'll be using my old Canon SL1 for the videos coming up, which is actually this camera right here. I'll be setting that up so that we can actually get a lot better color mix and stuff from the live stream and not interact with apparently some other program that keeps grabbing the camera I don't know why. I'll sort that out at some point in time. But getting back from the trip, we have some things coming on with the fish room that are going to be coming up, which I'm pretty excited about. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to pick up the new 180 that will be replacing one of the tanks out there. I wish I could just say I knew which tank it was going to replace right off the bat, but I don't right now. We're still kind of in the drawing things on piece of paper setup, figuring that out kind of time right now. So I'm not sure what tank it's going to replace. I had some other tanks lined up, and then that whole situation got weird. And to not really like go into it too much, the guy was holding onto a tank for another dude, and then he was going to trade me the 2 tanks for my old 180 that I have. That's the real tall one. And for whatever reason, that didn't exactly work out right off the bat. So we'll see how that goes in regards to moving forward. Hopefully, I'll still be able to just acquire one of the tanks from him or get a hold of the other guy and sort all that stuff out. That hasn't happened yet, so I can't really say, oh yeah, I've got those other 2 tanks coming, because the only one I have right now is going to be that 180, which I'm going to pick up tomorrow morning, which is a 6 foot, 2 foot, 2 foot, if you know what I'm saying. 2 foot tall, 2 foot deep, 6 feet wide, which will fit right into the spot right next to the darker back wall in the fish room. I don't understand why. All right, well, sorry about the technical difficulties of the camera dropping in and out, but hopefully audio will maintain. We'll see. Maybe Potato will let me know if my audio is too loud or not. Maybe he's watching. I don't know. But that tank I'll be picking up tomorrow and then be loading that in, and then I'll start building the stands tomorrow. So we'll start making some videos in regards to building out the new stands that are going into the fish room, picking up lumber and all that kind of stuff, and then moving forward to build the stands, get things in, and start getting the water going. Water going into tanks and all that stuff. And I wanted to answer a couple of the questions that I had in regards to the big system. At some point in time, it will be dumping and plumbing into a large pond at some point in time, and people were asking about ick and all that kind of stuff. So the system is actually going to be basically like a closed loop system. So I'm going to be dumping water and pulling water back and forth and not constantly cycling through everything all at the same time, if that makes sense. I know that it's a little bit confusing if I'm just talking about it, and I will make detailed videos in regards to the plumbing and the situation that with building the filters and all that kind of stuff coming up in the future. Treating any kind of sickness in the whatever if there's a sickness in the tank or the pond or any of that kind of stuff, treatment generally will fall into the same lines that if it was a smaller tank or any of that kind of stuff. And also on top of it, I'm going to be setting up I wouldn't say extensive, but a decent quarantine system so that anything coming in would be quarantined ahead of time. So I'll be able to treat or any of that kind of stuff if I end up with getting fish or shrimp or anything like that are bringing in any kind of negative attributes, I guess. We'll just phrase it like that, because I'm honestly a little bit tired, a little bit jet lagged and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if I'm wording things exactly correctly or whatnot, but that's but like I said, all that stuff will be detailed in video, so that as we move along, you guys will be able to get a really good idea of what I'm doing and how those things will be treated and taken care of. But a large quarantine system is going to be in play in order for things to come in. I also have some other bad news. I'm not really sure what's going on with the water in Tacoma. You guys know that I had a lot of stuff die off. All my plants are dead. All my fish are dead. It's just a cavalcade of like bad things happening one after another. But that is not something I'm going to let get in the way of my attitude towards what I want to keep doing. I want to keep doing this stuff. This is what I want to keep working on, and that's what I'm going to do. If bad things happen, and I'm just going to keep moving forward. All my shrimp are dead. All my fish are dead. All that kind of stuff. Vicky had her stuff in a holding tank downstairs in the basement, and we had nothing but problems with that. We returned from Kentucky, and all of her plecos have deceased. The water quality should have been okay. The temperature is okay, all that kind of stuff. It should have been fine. We did a huge water change. We even moved. I did a big enough water change to move from tank to tank. We had a bit of a ammonia situation. Middle of trying to talk here, but hopefully the audio stays on, and maybe the video gets lost every once in a while, but hopefully the audio stays on. So as I was saying, I did such a big water change, I actually even just moved him to another tank. I had him in a 20 long, so what I did was we cycled some new water into another tank, moved everybody over there, and we came back from vacation, and the whole colony of albino bristlenose plecos have died, and so it is another obstruction that we are going to be dealing with. And I'm not sure, maybe it's the Bluetooth that is interacting with the camera, but so we had another big die-off, and it's one of those times where I just really want to get frustrated and hit something with a stick or a hammer and just break something, but that is not going to get us where we want to go. So we're just going to keep plowing forward, and I got to do some really extensive testing on the water here to find out what the hell is going on, because I'm not sure what we got coming from the city, from the county, from the whoever, pardon my language, but whoever the fuck is sending us water. I'm not really 100% sure what is going on with it, and so I'm going to be doing some really extensive water testing to find out what is coming out of our pipes, and if there really is a problem from the water treatment plant. I'm not the best thing that I was about to say, I'm not sure what to do, but I'm going to explain what I would do. We're going to end up having to run a pretty extensive water filter to any of the water going into the tanks, which is going to be a big pain in the ass, but I'm able to do it. Let's just put it that way. I'm able to do that, so I'm going to end up doing that if that is what is needed. Hopefully, if we get lucky, hey Tony from the UK. Oh, I'm gonna type back to you. And if hopefully we just have a problem with a little too much chlorine is what I'm hoping. Fingers crossed for that. I hope that it's just a high chlorine level, or maybe chloramines or something along those lines. If it's something else, like I said, I'm going to have to probably get a pretty extensive water filtering situation going on, which isn't too difficult now. That actually, a lot of that stuff can be sourced pretty readily from places like Home Depot. But I mean, if we're looking at, there goes the dog. If we're looking at another, if we're looking at another $200, $300, $400 in monetary issues. I have to find that hurdle, and then I have to find the money and get over the hurdle, which means I got to go do projects and stuff. This is going to be a bit of a short live stream today because of that. That is another reason. I got to go out and make some money. I was hoping to get this going earlier, like I said, and now the camera keeps getting grabbed by some other program that's going on here, and I got to figure out what that is all about. I'm not 100% sure which program is grabbing it, but that's a lot that's going on over here. And if I have to, like I said, if I have to add in that filter for the house, I'm going to realistically say that it's going to piss me off. I'm going to be a little bit pissed, but I'm going to do it. And there's just been a long stream of things that have been a long stream or long string of events. Thumb cut off, all this kind of horse shit that's been going on. But realistically, as I said earlier in the live stream, one of the biggest things for me getting sober is just learning a lot more patience than I had before. So I'm just going to keep plugging forward regardless of any of these little setbacks that are going on. Whoa. What did I do? I wonder if I did something stupid. Well, I screwed that up big time. Well, either way, I screwed it up, and the camera is not available again. I don't know why. And I'm just gonna. Anyhow, if y'all can hear me, either way, I think still have audio, but I think we still have audio, even though my camera is not working properly for whatever reason. Either way, it looks like audio is still going, so I'll keep just rolling on audio for right now. But like I said, getting sober has given me a lot more patience to deal with all the nonsense that's going on. And I don't know. I clicked on a thing here that we lost video, so that's just life on life's terms. And I'm gonna go head out to work and try and make some money today. All right, guys, that's gonna be it. This fucking thing is Jesus. All right, whatever. All right, I'll be back once I can